Hello and welcome to FPS Coach. My name is Rambo Kim, and in this video I'm going to do a full breakdown of the mouse grip of TenZ. But before we do, I want to thank the sponsor of the video, Bow. They were kind enough to send me a pair of their jeans and this sweatshirt, made of super high quality fabrics and stitched to perfection. I can tell these will last me a long time. Bow is a family-owned business of over 30 years, designed in New York and handcrafted in the Honduras. If you want great, high-quality jeans at the fraction of the price, check out www.mottenbow.com and make sure to use my code RAMBO for a discount. I'll leave the link in the description. Alright, now on to the video.
This is my actual claw grip, or like not claw grip, but my actual grip that comes naturally to me is I wrap my hand kind of like, okay, you could do it two ways. So you could start off with a claw, but it's like a palm. So you put it fully in your palm and then you claw around. And then my middle finger sticks up in the air like this. This is my grip. And I hold it really high up. Like if you see where my finger is, it's basically like over the edge of the mouse. That's how I hold the mouse. And I don't know, it gives me a good amount of speed with control. That's what I like. I just need something to like anchor. If I have an anchor point, then my aim feels a lot better for me. Because I'm able to like pivot a lot easier. And I'd never micro adjust with my fingers. So that's why it's like a palm claw, because it's like a palm, but then my fingers are in claw.
All right, now let's go ahead and go step by step on how you can replicate TenZ's grip. Now, obviously your hand size, your finger length, your mouse, that's all gonna be different. But if you follow these kind of general step-by-steps, we'll get you in the same positions to see if it works for you. So the first thing you mentioned is there's two ways you can start with this grip. One is by curling your fingers like a claw, and then wrapping your hand over the mouse, or setting your anchor point with your palm on the mouse and then curling your fingers on top. For me, what feels best is I like to do the palm first. So I like to anchor it in like he says. So that palm right here, it's gonna suck down onto the back of the mouse. And then I like to curl my fingers. Now, TenZ, he seems like he's a pretty tall guy, and it looks like he's got really tall fingers. So he mentions he likes to have his finger on top of the mouse or over, especially this ring finger. So what I want you to do is after you find your palm and you kind of sucker it down and anchor that in, I want you to get this ring finger here and feel like it's all over and on top of this mouse 2 button over here. So let's see if I can get a better angle. So kind of like this. So on this mouse, and most mouses usually have like a little bit of edge on the right side of mouse 2. So hook that finger over on the edge and then feel like it's pressing towards your palm. Feel like this ring finger is pressing towards your palm, and what that's gonna do is create stability. So you have equal opposing forces, where you have this ring finger pushing towards your palm, and then you have your palm pushing towards the front of the mouse. And then you kind of have this mouse locked in that way. So ring finger pressing into the frame, the palm sucked into the mouse, and then you've got the left thumb supporting the side, and then the right pinky as well. So the other thing he mentioned is he likes to have his ring finger off the mouse. So as we can see in the footage here, it almost looks like his ring finger is like over on top of the mouse 1 button. For me, this kind of feels awkward. So what I'll do is I'll just lift my ring finger up like this completely and just completely take it out of the equation of the grip. And this kind of eliminates, you only need to worry about 4 fingers of your mouse being on the grip instead of 5. So I just like to float it up here like this. I mean, you could gently hover it over the mouse wheel, whatever feels good to you. It's really gonna kind of just depend on a little bit of that rotation and then also your finger size. All right, so we've got the ring finger hooked, pressing opposing forces with the palm. We've got the thumb and pinky supporting the side. Now, depending on your mouse, if it's like a super long mouse, if it's a really long mouse, it's gonna be harder for you to obviously get that ring finger curled over. Smaller mouses is gonna be much easier. And if you have short fingers, it's actually gonna be a little bit more difficult for you to curl because you have less fingers to curl with. If you have the longer fingers you have, the more curl you can get. So experiment with the amount of curl. For me, in order to hook this right finger over, this is the amount of curl that I like to have, like this. So it's not quite like TenZ where he's like super curled, you know. He calls it a scorpion grip, where it's super curled because he has long fingers. So this is what it looks like for me. And then the key point, another key point he mentioned is that he doesn't micro adjust with his mouse, meaning there's no space between the palm and the mouse for the mouse to move up and down like this because it's anchored in. So it's anchored in, everything's secure. And now since you have these 4 fingers on the mouse, there should be like a perfect amount of balancing forces keeping this mouse stable. So it's not going to want to shift left and right like this or wiggle around. It's perfectly balanced. So it's kind of like if you have 4 corners, if you think of these 4 fingers as like 4 corners of the mouse, positioning it so it's all equal. So you don't have, again, any kind of twisting motion where the thumb is pressing weird into the mouse, wanting it to shift like this, or if the pinky finger, it's over rotating the mouse one way or the other. So that's going to take a little bit of wiggling and waggling and for you to kind of figure out, do I need the thumb down here closer? Is it like up here? Is it more flat? And then that goes with your other fingers as well. So the other thing to experiment with is this placement of this mouse 1 finger. So I actually kind of like a lot of space between the ring finger and pointer finger compared to it being like over here by mouse wheel, right? So in one of my other videos, I talked about how creating like end of range motion. So if you kind of max out a certain range of motion, I can't bring this mouse 1 finger over that much. So it creates like a very repeatable position because it's kind of stretched out and almost at the end of its range. So experiment with that mouse 1. You could have a little bit more curl, it could be more straightened, or if it's closer or away from that mouse wheel. And for me, if I just lift up mouse 1 and then place it down, this is where it feels good. So I have a decent amount of stretch right there. And now that also helps me establish kind of the 4 corners or the front corners with this ring finger and pointing finger. Now I know this video is just about his grip, but one thing to mention is that he does use a fairly low sensitivity if you watch his webcam and how much he has this swiping motion where he utilizes a lot of his forearm, and he does have most of his forearm on the table. So you could barely just see a little bit of his elbow popping out. What that does is allows his forearm to be really super flat on the table and even with the table, so he has this really large range of motion. He's able to utilize the entire surface of the mouse pad. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and experiment with some of these positions. Again, this is going to be a little bit customized and personalized depending on your hand shape, the length of your fingers, and then also your mouse shape. But experiment with that. Maybe 1 or 2 of these kind of little positions or mechanical changes will work for you. And if this video was helpful in some way, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date.